Hello, welcome to Story Time with Nicola. I'm Nicola Pearson, and I was hoping to read to you today to give your parents a little bit of a break because I really enjoy reading to young people. So today the story I'm going to read is one that actually I wrote it too. It's called The Lost Hour. And this story is about daylight savings time. Now, I don't know if you remember, but there's usually, depending on where you live, there's a time of the year when we change our clocks. And in Washington State, where I live, the clocks get put forward in March. And we put them forward by 1 hour so that we have more light later in the day. And that's called spring forward. It's called daylight savings time. And what happens is we lose an hour in that day when we put the clocks forward. And my niece Jessica asked her grandfather, what happens to the hour that we lose to daylight saving time? And her grandfather told me that question, and I came up with an answer. It's not necessarily a true answer. It's a fictional answer. You know what fiction is? It's when it's not necessarily true. But it's a fun answer, I hope. And I wrote the book The Lost Hour, and it was illustrated by Maya Keegan. Now, Maya was 9 years old when she started these illustrations and only 13 when she finished them. And I think she did a lovely job with them. This is the character of 6 o'clock on the front of the book. So today I'm going to read The Lost Hour by Nicola Pearson with illustrations by Maya Keegan. And I'm going to read it for my friends at Edison Elementary School, who gave me a lovely welcome before the quarantine went into place, when we all had to stay at home to stay healthy. And they gave me such a great welcome that I'm reading this book for them and for anybody else that would like to listen to it too. One chilly Sunday in March, in the mountains of Washington State, Stephen got up early and put the hands on his grandfather clock forward an hour, from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. "Hey!" shouted 6 o'clock angrily. "Hey, whoa, what about me? Hey, I was ready for work, honest. I brushed my teeth and everything. You can't just pass me over." "Sorry," said Grandfather Clock, "but it strikes me that you are now unemployed." "What?" exclaimed 6 o'clock. "But why?" "Because of daylight savings time," explained Grandfather Clock. "The people lose an hour, so the days will stay lighter later. So you can play baseball outside in the evening." "But that's not fair," complained 6 o'clock. "Why would they want to lose me? I've always been on time. I say my chimes correctly." Excuse me," complained 7 o'clock. "Could somebody please shut 6 o'clock up? He's interfering with my tick-tocking. I don't like to be talking when I'm supposed to be ticking." "You'd better just pack your bags and be on your way, lad," said Grandfather Clock kindly. 6 o'clock bravely wiped away a tear and stepped out of the Grandfather Clock. "Goodbye, hours," he called sadly. Goodbye," they chimed, and good luck." "I'll miss you," whispered 5 o'clock. There's 5 o'clock. Good old 5 o'clock, thought 6 o'clock to himself. They'd had some fun changing hands together. 6 o'clock decided to go east to look for a job. He knew that he could fly because he had heard people talking about how time flies. So he let himself drift up into the air. Pretty soon he was flying towards the east coast. 6 o'clock landed in New York City. and was amazed at how fast everybody moved there. People were always looking at their own little clocks, wishing there were more hours in the day. This is great, he thought to himself. Maybe I can get a job as an extra hour in a day. That's what these people seem to need. But none of the clocks in New York City would let him in. "Get out of here, kid," they yelled rudely. "You can't have more than 24 hours in a clock. Besides, we don't need no West Coast time in our clocks. People have got to move fast in this here city." 6 o'clock hung his head in shame. What was he to do? Then he heard music, beautiful music. It was coming from the New York City Orchestra. He flew to the concert hall and found the musicians playing a symphony in 6/4 time. And there were chimes in the percussion. "This is perfect," he told himself. "I can chime in 6/4 time with the best of them." So 6 o'clock auditioned for the orchestra and got the job. Everything was fine for a while. 6 o'clock was very proud of his new position. "Who needs clocks?" he thought to himself. "My life is in music. I can see that now." But just as he was getting settled, the music changed to a piece in 4/4 time, and with a wave of the conductor's baton, 6 o'clock's career in the orchestra came to an end. Once again, 6 o'clock packed his bags and flew east. This time he landed in another country, England. That's where I'm from. There he was adopted by a little girl called Elizabeth, who put him in her mathematics notebook. 6 o'clock felt very comfortable in the notebook, until one day Elizabeth started doing strange things with him. She used a 2 to divide him into 2 3s. She took 4 away from him and left him as only 2. Then, horror of horrors, she added 7 to him, his least favourite number, and turned 6 into 13. This was a number 6 o'clock had never heard of before, and he decided that it was too much. It was time to pack his bags and fly further east. For the next few months, 6 o'clock went through some very tough jobs. In one country, he found himself as a price sticker on some cabbage. Be pretty smelly, wouldn't it? In another, he was put on the front of a bus. Then he got a job on a stopwatch as the 6th part of 60 seconds. This was more in his line of work, but he did find it tiring to have to dash around the face of the watch in only 60 seconds. While 6 o'clock was travelling, the spring turned to summer and the summer turned to fall. The leaves on the trees were changing colour and the days were getting shorter. One Sunday in November, 6 o'clock realised he was very close to Washington State, where he had lived in the grandfather clock with the other hours. He decided to pay them a visit. When he arrived, he found Stephen moving the hands on the clock back 1 hour, from 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock. This is the other end of daylight savings time, when people gain an hour so that there is light earlier in the morning. "Oh dear," groaned Grandfather Clock. "We need an extra 6 o'clock because we've gained an hour." "I can do it! I can do it!" yelled 6 o'clock excitedly. He had arrived just in the nick of time. "Come on then," urged Grandfather Clock. "Get up here quickly. You're about to chime." With that, 6 o'clock proudly climbed back into the grandfather clock and chimed his 6 chimes, for he was truly happy that he was no longer the hour lost, but the hour gained. Well, thank you very much for listening to that story. I hope you enjoyed it. I have a question for you. See if you can figure out the answer to that question. Why had 6 o'clock never heard of the number 13? If you know the answer to that question, you can post it in the comments and also share this with your friends if you'd like to. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for joining Storytime with Nicola. Bye-bye now.